Coming up, will lockdowns end in tears? Can the economy bounce back? And would you accept a freedom pass? All that plus my star guest, Mike Graham. Please don't cancel me. This is Free Speech. Bad news on the economy, folks. The bill for the pandemic now stands at £390 billion, which raises the prospect of Britain having to cut spending, raise taxes and sell Dame Judi Dench to China. Britain's debt is now so high, the government of Venezuela has offered financial help. One option being explored by the Chancellor is to call Ocean Finance and consolidate all our borrowing into one easy monthly payment. As well as cost-cutting in Whitehall, Mr Sunak has been seen at the Westminster branch of Paddy Power betting the defence budget on Spurs finishing top four this season. Mike, is Britain going bust?
Rishi Sunak stands up in Parliament, talks about how he's borrowed more money than anybody could have ever imagined that he would ever make. Nobody knows where it's come from. I don't know where it's come from. Do you know where it's come from?
No.
Is there a guy in the Bank of England with a machine sort of just printing it out? Are they handing it to people? Nobody knows. And so it's such a big number now that they can just forget about it at some point. They will say, presumably, oh, of course we have to, pay for all of this largesse and somehow we'll have to put some taxes on people. But then everyone will go, hang on a minute, I never bought into this, I don't want to pay for it, why should I pay for it? Then people start arguing about putting people on furlough and say, well, no, you can't put them on furlough if I have to pay for it. I don't want to do that. So in the end, I think what they'll do is they'll say, look, the entire world has gone bust, so we're just going to have to start again.
There you go. Britain will bounce back. You heard it here first from the wise words of Mike Graham. Here's our next headline. We can now bring you the latest on tiered restrictions. Now, Tier 1 will see the most relaxed restrictions with all non-essential shops open, as well as adults being allowed to make eye contact once an hour. Tier 2 will see a ban on all small talk, even about I'm a celebrity in the Crown, as well as no laughing, singing, or strangely erotic thoughts about your Ocado delivery man, Steve. Tier 3 requires that you give up your actual own name, your iPhone, your worst performing kidney, the password to your Netflix account, and your firstborn child. So, Michael, is this just lockdown in another name?
When I say to anyone, are we able to go to the pub? They go, well, yeah, I think so. What can we do? Well, you can have a drink, but you can't go to the bar and order it. Do we need to eat? Well, that depends if you're sitting outside. Oh, no, I think you might need to eat when you're sitting outside. Well, what about if we have a business meeting? Oh, I don't know about that. Nobody really knows what the rules are.
Well, no, and I think it's such a slap in the face to the British people who have been, especially in England, of course, just coming out of that national lockdown, that you would expect that if we were going back to the tiers, that they would be a little looser, a little more generous. In fact, we're getting the opposite. Right. We're being punished with stricter tiers.
Right. And also, all this talk of tiers, as if there's a big difference between the two. I've got a friend who lives in a place called Groombridge in Kent, right? Half of it's in Kent, half of it's in Sussex. It's a small village. They've got a pub on one side of the border, another pub on the other side of the border. One of them's shut, one of them's open. There's a shop on one side of the border we can open, but if you're travelling from the other side, it's illegal, apparently.
Yeah, well, I know which side of that county you'll be visiting, Mike.
Exactly right.
OK, our next story. There's been a common theme during this pandemic: nanny state overreach. We've seen 12 coppers in Essex trying to close a gym. With burglars, muggers and mad axe murderers wreaking havoc in that fine county, the local cops are far too busy trying to drag a tattooed truck driver with anger issues called Big Jim off a shoulder press machine. We also saw the absurd overreach of non-essential items taped off in a Welsh supermarket. I mean, how dare the authorities decide what is or isn't an essential item? As far as I'm concerned, an oven tray and a pack of condoms aren't only essential, but the definition of a great night in. And the latest outrage? Talk of a freedom pass. Now, this is a document you carry around showing that you have very recently tested negative for COVID. This is a policy so dystopian, it makes the plot of Blade Runner look far-fetched. Michael, would you accept a freedom pass?
I would not necessarily like something which is being described as a freedom pass currently by the government, because one, I think like power, freedom cannot be given. Yeah. It can only be taken. You haven't got the right to give me my freedom. You are not my jailer, right?
Correct.
In the same way that the government is not my jailer. If I decide I want to drive to Scotland and Nicola Sturgeon says you can't come here, I'm going anyway. And in fact, if I had to take a COVID vaccine to go and watch a band playing at the O2, I'm not sure that I would bother too much about doing that. But if I wanted to enough, then I would.
Yeah. Well, I would need a vaccine to watch Coldplay, but I guess that's just me.
Well, no, you don't need a vaccine for that. You need a sedative.
That's true.
So you just lie there.
Oh, yeah, I'll just inject me with anything, frankly, just to get me through 3 hours of Chris Martin.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you so much. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Free Speech.